Okay, thank you again. I think you still know me from yesterday Python, but yeah, so I'm Mark. Today we talk about Unity, which is more of a fun topic. Yeah, I don't know if anybody of you ever heard of Unity. Basically, it's a game engine. So it's a thing you use to make video games, which, I mean, I don't know if you want to make video games here, but you could after this lecture, hopefully. So yeah, I don't know if it will really take 1.5 hours, but maybe around 1 hour, so you can go home early. Yes, as I said, Unity is a video game engine. It's cross-platform. It's maybe a little bit small to see, but basically it's available almost anywhere. Like usually Windows, Mac, Linux, but you can make video games for like, what does it say? PlayStation, PS Vita, Wii, Switch. Yeah, all game consoles, of course iPhone, iPad, Android. So yeah, it's this kind of video game engine. It was initially released 2005, which is now 13 years ago, and is constantly in development. It's free for personal use, which is pretty nice, so we can also use it in research for visualization on stuff like that. It's more expensive if you use it for commercial purposes. But yeah, for free, you can even make your own games at home if you want, so that's fun. It's based, like, it's kind of, you see it later, but it's kind of a click-together interface, like drag and drop stuff in the background to make like game logic, to have a little bit more complex things. You can use programming languages like C# usually. I think it's also supported for JavaScript, but most people use C#. Which is very similar to Java, which you had on the first day, I think. So that's for like the background logic. And yeah, as I said, you can deploy to any kind of different things, including, by the way, VR. So that's like these glasses you put on, and then you see the video game. Like, I think it can also deploy to that. So you could make stuff like that with that. Yeah, so what's actually based on Unity? There's a couple of video games, like there's hundreds of video games, but I just found a couple of logos of popular things. Here in Japan, probably everybody knows this. Pokemon Go on the like on the iPhone or Android or something. That's actually based on Unity, so it's made with Unity. There's a couple of other things. This is another, I think, kind of popular cell phone game, like iPhone. These two are PC games. Like on Steam, you can buy it. Like, yeah, it's also pretty. I think it's from the last couple of years, like 2 or 3 years. So yeah, lots of different things. If you go on Steam, actually, I think every second game is actually made with Unity. So yeah, very popular engine. I think there's a couple of million developers. Also, of course, a big community of like indie developers. There's lots of forums, there's lots of websites where people make like small 2D games and stuff like that. So yeah, feel free to join them if you want to make video games. In research, of course, we are not here to make video games, hopefully, maybe. But there's also a couple of places where you can use it in research. So for example, virtual reality, like these glasses, they're also very much used in research recently, the last couple of years. There's augmented reality, which is kind of the opposite. I don't know if you ever heard of augmented reality, but it's kind of the place, like a couple of years ago there were these Google glasses where stuff was printed into the glass and you could see them while walking around. There's some stuff from Apple where basically you just use a table like this and have your iPhone or iPad, and then suddenly on the screen of your iPhone something appears on the table and you can play like that. So it's like virtual reality is basically putting yourself into the game. Augmented reality is opposite, it's putting the game into the reality. So like putting extra things into the real world. There's 3D visualizations, so yeah, in theory you could use an engine like that to visualize things. And of course demos. I mean, all conferences, there's often demo areas. usually you try to market your things. You want people to remember your stuff. I think the best way for people to remember things is actually putting it into mini games, and then people will remember the game and will remember your ideas and your name. So that's a way to market your things. So there's lots of different things, but of course, before you use it, you actually need to learn it. So that's made very easy. Of course, I mean, I'm doing a lecture on this right now, so you learn a little bit here, but probably only some basics. So if you want to learn more, Unity website, this is a small excerpt of the Unity website. They have hundreds of tutorials there. If you go to unity3d.com/learn, they have lots of resources on that. There is also, of course, YouTube. Yesterday I put Unity's space tutorial onto YouTube, and it got like 4.5 million results. So you can find a lot of different tutorials on YouTube too. Of course, lots of things are related to video games, but you can probably also find things like virtual reality, maybe for research purposes. That's a big community behind that. I also looked up Udacity. I don't know if you know Udacity, but Udacity is this website down here. It's a website with online lectures. Like you can enroll into lectures from other universities. Yeah, mostly other universities. And so there's even lectures where you can actually get a certificate if you do that. If you need to pay them, of course. But so they have lots of lectures online with class materials and lecture notes and everything. And they actually have a lecture on doing virtual reality development with Unity. So yeah, that's also an academic course where you can, I don't know, it goes over maybe 2 or 3 months. And you can learn Unity to use virtual reality things using that. So that already shows it's a big thing. It's used a lot. And yeah, as I said, if you're interested in learning more about Unity later, just Google it, just use YouTube, for example. You can probably watch Unity videos for the next couple of years if you want to watch all of them. So that's one way to learn about Unity. Another thing, there's a big asset store where you can download like extra data, already pre-made models, pre-made textures, like everything you need in a video game, pre-made sound effects, music, like whatever you need. This one was searched by Professor Hidayama last year. I just kept it into the slides because I thought it's kind of fun. You can download a package called Japanese Otaku City. Yeah, I am not sure what's actually inside that package, but basically I think it's models like otaku kind of models. And that's free to download. So you just click the button and then it's imported into your Unity installation, and you can use these models in your video game. I mean, I can quickly go to the website. I think it's it takes forever. Like that's the Unity website. I think you already played around on your laptops in front of you. Yeah, so this is on a website. Up here, Learn. As I said, you have lots of different example courses which you can try out, play around with later. There's, of course, yesterday in Python I talked a million times about documentation. Here I can do it again. There's a big documentation, all kinds of manuals and stuff like that. Unity courses here you can learn. There's this asset store. It gives you like an endless, I think you need to be logged in. I'm already logged in, I think, so I can go to the website. But yeah, basically it gives you stuff to download. Even the Chinese website. It gives you stuff to download, but yeah, it's slow, so maybe I'll show that later. Matter of this course, it's not so important anyhow, but I think I'd show you. Yeah, and that's mostly it for the theory part. Of course, before you actually use Unity, you need to install it. On these laptops, they're pre-installed, as in I installed it. Basically, do you have Windows right now? Linux? Windows? Windows? That's okay. It's pre-installed on both. It's actually, I think it was on the previous slide. It's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux, so use it wherever you want. It works the same on all of them. So if you're Windows right now, Windows is okay, I guess. Please start it. When you start it, you should see this screen. And that's the first task, kind of, because if you want to use Unity, you need an account. And yeah, please create one. So there should be a button like create one, and then the account creation is a little bit annoying because you need to fill out like a survey and stuff like that. But yes, if you have one, you can use it later on. Like, just create one now, and you can use it later at home or in your lab, wherever. Okay. Yeah, you can also log in with Facebook or Google if you want, I think. No, that not. I think it should be, or if you go to the desktop. Oh, yeah. This. Oh. Okay. Yes. Yes. So, in the beginning, it asks you whether you want to use Unity Pro or Personal. Please choose Personal because that's free. The Plus and Pro costs extra. And then, yes. I mean, the thing is, I'm already registered, so I can't do it right now on there. I mean, I could just probably do it with a different email address, just to make it easy. So we don't want to use that. Get Unity. My account, sign out. Okay, so basically, yeah, create an account. I just do it in front here a little bit, so if anybody has something they don't understand, just look here. So first, of course, you start with your email address, a password, in terms, yes, I didn't use Facebook or Google. I mean, you know how to use it yourself if you want to log in. So then you need to confirm your email, which I quickly do, I guess. Confirm your email address. Continue. And then I'm already logged in because, of course, the other questions only come on the first installation, so I can't even show you. That's annoying. Yeah, then just use it on yours. If anybody has problems, just feel free to ask. Yeah, I mean, yeah, just fill it out very quickly. You don't. It's not a.
I think it's click OK, then not OK.
Yeah, if maybe. Did you put everything? Maybe something doesn't work.
Or I should quit and.
It's this one, I think.
I think so.
Where are you located? Japan.
Yes.
Okay, it works. Sure, then, yeah, everybody, please download all these Learn basic tutorials. I think everybody already did that. So I very quickly, basically, we want to go through them step by step. And I don't know how long it takes to go through all of them. I did it myself just for testing. I don't know how long it takes for everybody. We will just stop in the middle if it takes too long, or if we finish early, then we're done, I guess. Or if we finish very early, then I have one or two other ideas. But let's first go through this. So we start with the one play and edit mode. Just click on the start button next to it. So that takes a bit. Okay, so can I make this big? Yes. So basically, what you have in front of you should be this. So that's basically the main interface. Unity always works like this. Basically, it has like this kind of drag and drop-ish interface. You have like a game interface. Afterwards, it's part of the tutorial. You can actually play the video game down here. With like keyboard, etc. So it's always rendered down here to see what actually the game would look like. This up here is like kind of a, well, it's called scene, I think. That's kind of the workplace. So you can, basically it's like a 3D editor. Basically, yeah, you can drag around stuff in there. You can add new stuff. It's basically the level editor, maybe. There's a hierarchy up here. It's basically, I think this tutorial goes through them. Yeah, play mode. Can I go back? Basically, the hierarchy up here, it's some extra, well, a little bit more complex stuff where you can do settings. And basically, the stuff on the right is all for settings and extra stuff. And the main interface looks like this. And programming comes on top of it. So basically, afterwards, there will be scenes where you can connect a programming file, where you can connect like source code to an object here. So you can have an object in this world, like a small figure, which is a player character, and you connect code to that. So please go ahead with this tutorial and jump forward a couple of pages. And then there will be, it will ask you to enter play mode. So play mode is up here, this button. And when you click it, actually your game starts. So down here, it's now like a kind of pre-installed game with a small figure and, well, in kind of a maze area. The idea would be to bring this figure to this arrow. And you can do so basically using your arrow keys. So with the arrow keys, basically, this figure can already run around, and you can move him to this area. And then he is happy, I guess. So yeah, that's like basically a pre-installed game just to get familiar with this interface. Yes. If you click it, and then I think this, yeah, you can move around to bring him. You're already a little bit advanced. No, the next one, okay. Feel free to. So yes, just as a small introduction. So up here, play button again, you exit this mode. And yeah, that's basically a small introduction just to see how this interface looks like. Before we go to the next one, just a little bit more information here on the side. For example, no, this is so slow. Okay. Oh no. So basically the idea is on the side, there's like a hierarchy here. So you get some extra details about all these elements inside the scene. I mean, here it's already pre-installed. So for example, there's a environment, there's a player, which is the figure you controlled before. There's a goal, which is basically this thingy here. This is a goal. And all these elements are part in here. And I mean, already clicking it shows you how much options there is for everything. So it's probably going through all of this would be a little bit way too much detail, but just to show you, yeah, where it goes. So I think I will just jump to the second tutorial to get a little bit more complex. If you click so, you can forget the old one, then it just resets. And then the new tutorial will load. If you go through all four of them and are done, it might be a little bit boring for you, but I might show a little bit else in the end. Shouldn't take too long to go through the first four. What? Legend here. Yeah. Legend of Zelda, yeah. Well done. So in the second tutorial, it basically already gets a little bit more complex. So in the second tutorial, now all these lasers came inside. So it's kind of, it gets a puzzle game. The thing is, if you start it, now you can move. And you're supposed to walk in here to let this box fall on here and block this laser so you can pass through. Unfortunately, nothing happens. So that's what we are doing now to make this box fall and block this laser. So we go out of this play mode, and to make this box fall, we need to make it a widget body. Widget body is basically, it means to attach a physics engine to this object. Widget means, well, yeah, it has physics attached. So if it's physics attached, of course, it will fall down when this opens with gravity. So the idea is, now we can select this box. And after we select this, we get this inspector, which is basically this right-hand menu. It's basically the main menu to set up everything in Unity, or everything, well, everything for objects in Unity. So we have this hierarchy with all objects in the scene, and when we select one box, we get all the options or all the settings which can be attached to this element on this right-hand side called inspector. And yeah, basically we go ahead. It kind of tells you in the inspector window at the bottom, click the Add Component button. So down here, it's Add Component. It's basically every single element in Unity can have components attached. So things like physics is a component. Things like source code is an component. So you can attach source code to an object, and then it would be a component, a script. Things like materials are in components. So if an object should have a certain color, it's a component, or stuff like that. So by adding a component, we get this menu. Yeah, we can already see like navigation, audio. You can attach audio. You can attach scripts, networking stuff. Basically anything in Unity is components attached to objects. So going here, widget, we need to add a widget body to this box, which now appears here in the middle. And just by this, it works. So by adding this widget body, where is it? Here. Adding this widget body to this box element, now it falls down. So now it has physics attached. So now this character can move along because the laser doesn't kill him. And you can go to the second element, which, of course, also doesn't work. Because it's a tutorial, so you're supposed to fix stuff. So we need to go back. And now we can fix the second box, which is box 2 up here. This time, you could also go here in the scene and just click it, of course. But this tutorial wants to show you the hierarchy, so let's use that one. So we want to the box 2. Double-clicking shows it. You can switch between the elements, so you can just double-click an element. It shows you where it is. So this box, we want to now modify. And as I said, widget body is basically adding physics to things. So physics would be the gravity, that the box falls down after it opens. Gravity would also be, of course, that the box moves along if this thingy hits it. So again, we add a widget body to this element. And we're done. So now, basically, we fix both boxes. And now this figure can finally walk to his destination. So the first box, this one works. It falls down correctly. We can move to the second one. This one, now, it pushes it along, and the path is clear. So the puzzle is finished. And with that, the tutorial is finished. So yes, he's happy again. We are happy again because we finished the second tutorial. And yes, we can basically go to the third one. So far, any questions? I think it's very hands-on / not that. Yeah, you finished it. You finished it. Oh. He's stuck. Oh no. It's okay now. Okay, he finished it. You probably already at 3 or 4, or you already finished the next one. No. Okay. Tutorials could not be loaded. That's bad. Let's restart Unity here. Don't save. So yeah, we basically went through the first 2 tutorials. Let's go into the third one. Okay, that should load now. So now it gets the next one. Actually, I think now it's not a puzzle anymore. Now you don't need to move away objects in terms of it should fall in the laser and you block the path. But now I think the idea is to make it a game where you run away from AI, so you get enemies, I think. So let's quickly do that. the first point again would be starting the game and see what doesn't work, because that's how this tutorial works. So we walk into the wet box and the enemy comes, and I don't know, will he kill us when we pass? Probably. No, he doesn't do anything. But I think the idea is to now my character got stuck. I think the idea is to fix it and make him a real entity. So let's do that. So first of all, we have this enemy patrol. There's an object called enemy. Where is it? This. So this is the enemy object. And the reason it was jumping at us and just running around super quickly up and down was because its walking speed is 30, which seems to be way too high. So we changed it to 1. And by that, it's now not so quick anymore. So we can quickly try it again, going into play mode again, and open this door. And now he walks very weirdly, but very slowly. So now you can walk. So yeah, I almost didn't show it. So basically now the game still doesn't work. This enemy comes now in normal speed, but we can't go to our final location because this door, unfortunately, is stuck. The door doesn't open. So let's fix that. This time it's this automatic doors. It's up here. There's this automatic doors element, which seems to be stuck because somebody misconfigured it. So there's a variable here called time until close. And that's very short. So basically, you go onto the button, and it closes after half a second, which is not enough to go through. So we want to change that and change it to 10. And now we can basically walk through. So just by changing that, now this level works normally. So now this opens, and it says you have 10 seconds basically to go through, because I think in like 5-ish seconds it should close, because it closes after 10 seconds. Now it closed, but we are already inside, so that's okay. And we can go and finish the level. Another victory. Basically, there's a couple of things I want to emphasize in this one. One thing, for example, is this AI. It's kind of pre-installed. The tutorial showed you a couple of explanations. I just jumped over it. But basically, when you go through this, how do you stop this tutorial? Next. When you this enemy element, this has this nav mesh agent thingy. That's like a pre-installed component, which kind of does a couple of things for you. So you can select the speed, the acceleration of objects, whether it goes around obstacles, etc. So it has automatic pathfinding. So all this stuff is kind of pre-installed, and you can, if you have an element like an enemy, you can make it do so without any coding. It's like a component. Like it's one of these pre-installed stuff. So I think this one should probably be in. Where would it be? I think there's an AI section. No, there isn't. Maybe in physics. Playables, scripts. Maybe it's a pre-installed script. Basically, the idea is everything in Unity is either a component, which is already pre-installed and gives you some features, or a script, which is basically, yeah, just do your own thing. So in this case, for example, this one is implemented as a script, which is very short, but let's see, enemy. So every element down here can also be attached just with scripts. So instead of just putting the stuff into the inspector thingy, in the background, of course, it's some kind of scripting. In the background, some kind of programming. And you can also do the programming directly. So for more complex stuff, basically it looks like this, which is pretty similar to Java, which it is on the first day. Unity also has a big documentation where all the stuff is explained. Basically, in this case, for example, it's implemented as a behavior. So you have a class enemy, which comes from behavior, and then you can script the behavior of this object. And you have it as a file and attach it to a certain object, and then this object behaves in that way. So that's one way to do that stuff. Let's quickly jump to the last tutorial of these basic ones. So the fourth one, hopefully it doesn't take forever. That comes later. Okay, so the last tutorial. Basically, we start as usual. We play our game and see what doesn't work because, So we walk on here, and this door opens, which is nice, but we can't do anything because we are down here and we need to go up there. So basically, we are just stuck inside this small box down here. But we, of course, will have a way to fix this. Otherwise, this tutorial would get stuck, I guess. So this time, I think we look down to these asset files, and I guess we even do some programming, if I'm not mistaken. So basically, assets in Unity are basically anything from scripts to models to textures to audio, anything attached to this video game which is not directly like in this window, like everything extra. So we go ahead and select the WAMP asset, which is down here. And we want to create an instance. So drag the one to the bottom of the hierarchy. Basically, the idea here, the WAMP is basically an asset which was, in this case pre-installed, but it could be something from this asset store from Unity. It could be something from a different project. It could be something you download from the web. And it's just a file. And you drag it up here to make it an object of your scene. So that's like external files. And by dragging it up here, you create an object of this instance. So the instance was already set to the right location because this tutorial did it for you, I guess. In real, of course, you need to place it in the right location. I'll show you that later. But by having that, half of the tutorial is already done. So again, this door opens. Now we can walk up. But there's a laser which will kill us, and now we are dead. And of course, what should happen is that this element here pushes something in front of the laser so you can go through, but it didn't. So another thing we need to fix. Now, again, in the same way as earlier, there's a different asset, not called WAMP, but it's called pushable box down here. And we create one of these pushable boxes, which is down here. But it's at a wrong location. So basically, it's down here, but it should, of course, be in front of this arm thingy, so it can be pushed in front of this laser. So by doing that, if you select an object, it's already selected. There's this transform box up here. There's position, rotation, scale. So that's, I mean, everybody whoever did something with 3D stuff probably already knows this stuff. But position is three-dimensional location inside the room. So basically, where is the object? Rotation is rotating the object. We probably don't need to change that. Scale would be the size of the object. So 1.5 for each basically makes it 50% larger than it was initially, like as it was created. 2 or 3 would make it bigger. Less than 1 would make it smaller. And if you only change 1, so if you only change the x and keep y and z at the same level, it would make it in one direction. So instead of, if you have a box, a two-dimensional box, and of course, if you change both axes, if you change this, it gets this box. But if you change, well, I already almost did it wrong. If you change only one and keep the other one, of course it gets this box. So the idea is to play around with these to change pre-installed elements. So in this case, we have this box down here. We want it there. So rotation is probably doesn't really matter. Scale also doesn't really matter. We could make it bigger, but we probably don't need to. But it's at the wrong location. So the tutorial already gives you the right location. The tutorial tells you the x component should be -2, the y component should be 2.5, and the z component should be 10. The reason basically is, of course, we first need to move it from here to here in the room, but this level is lower than that level, so it also needs to move upwards and then in that direction. And probably also a little bit closer here, because if you move it upwards and then there, then it's here, and you want it there. So yeah, we need to change all 3 numbers. So let's go ahead, 2, 2.5, and 10. And now it's exactly there. I mean, I went through all of that very quickly, but for example, if we just put 5, so the z component, if it's 0, it's like there. 5, 10, 15. So the z component moves it in the room in that direction. The z component probably 5. So that one, as you see, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5. It moves it upwards, downwards. And the last component moves it in that direction. So yes. So now basically everything is done. The box is pushable. It's already pushable because it's pre-installed like that. I think pushable just means it has a rigid body attached from the last tutorial. So it's attached to physics. It's in the right location, so it can be pushed in front of the laser. So basically everything is done. And we can finish our level. So we have our figure down here. It opens the door. We go up here. This one pushes it in front of the laser. And now we can quickly run up here. And you're next to the goal. So the figure gets happy again, and we are done with the last tutorial. So yeah, everybody playing around with that. You're done. YouTube probably 10 minutes ago. So yeah, that's so far about the pre-installed tutorials. I very briefly, I still have 40 minutes left, but I very briefly want to show you another example, but I think I can finish in 10-15 minutes. What's the time? When should I finish? Yeah. 大丈夫。まあ4時15分ぐらい。はい。はい。Okay. That was pretty fun to play around with. Of course, the tutorial already gave you basically everything already, because when you start making a game, you probably don't have it already pre-installed. You just need to add one box and then you're done with your game. But probably you start with an empty, and then it's a little bit more things to do. So I have another example, which is based on one of these. So these are basically the more in-depth tutorials where you start from nothing, and one of these 6 different games come out in the end, and you can play it, and you did the full game basically from an empty stage until, okay, you can play it. Just as an example, I don't know, let's go for tech. No, actually, yes, you don't need to open it. I just show it here quickly. We do another one afterwards. Just look at the screen a bit. So the idea is, you can already open this. Because the idea is basically on this website, on the Unity website, there's this Learn Unity section. IP update, I made a backup, no thanks. There's this section, and all these ones on the second page are somewhere here. I think this one. Yes. So basically, all these examples built into the app are on this website, and this one is a little bit less interactive than the last tutorials. It's not like it shows you directly on the screen, please click here, please do that, but it is basically a tutorial on the website with videos. So basically, it's a kind of step-by-step guide as a video. So it shows you as a YouTube video, basically, okay, how do you install this stuff? There's these 2 guys who kind of explain you what you need to do, and you just follow along. So this is basically an empty setup. It doesn't show you anything. It also doesn't have anything pre-installed, I mean. So it's not like the last tutorial where, okay, we have everything done, please add this box. This is like the opposite. Okay, we have nothing done, please do everything. But down here, all these assets are already pre-installed. So basically everything they use in the videos, you already have down here, and you can just work with it. So you have the sound effects, you have textures, you have the models. So you can kind of go along and just do everything with them together, which is pretty nice for learning. So if you want to go into more detail later, you can do so using that. Quickly go out of that. So basically, on the website, we have pre-recorded tutorials, I think for like, yeah. These are the interactive ones. These are basically the ones we did in class now. We have like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 different games, which can also be used as a video lecture, if you're interested in that. The one I want to look at first now, quickly, just goes it a little bit on Sketch, would be that one, Wall a Ball. So how do I do that best? Basically, I wanted to say I made, but I didn't made it. I copied slides from from last year, where this was part of the tutorial. So basically, I have a couple of slides from Hidayama Sensei, who does a part of this game. I think doing everything in class would be a little bit too long. But the idea is, this is a rolling game, so you have a level, plane, you have the around it. You have something like, that's very small. You have something like this. So you control a ball as a player and have a level with like walls around it, and there's object inside the level, and you can collect something, or you need to avoid these elements and roll around in this world. And the tutorial on the website goes a little bit more in detail. Like you have collectible items, you have like score on the screen, which shows you how many items you collected and stuff like that. We won't do that much detail, but we quickly go as far as, okay, create a world, have some walls around it, create an element, which is the player, and walk and move around in this world, just as an example on how to start a game from this basics, basically. So yeah, the idea would be have something like that. And as in the last tutorial, where you have like your arrow keys and walk around this small figure, you want to walk around this ball. And ideally, I don't know if we can make it in time, but the camera would follow the ball. So when you move, like basically this ball is always in the middle of the screen, as like in video games where you control a character and you always have your character in the middle of the screen. So yeah, we basically just start with a new. I can close this one. By the way, I kind of skipped it earlier, but that would be the interface when you want to add code. It has like a pre-installed this kind of GUI where you can add source code and stuff like that. We might use it later at some point, but yeah. So quickly go ahead. I mean, you could also go here, and there's a roller ball. It's kind of pre-installed, and you already have all kinds of assets and extra stuff which will help you later. But we won't go that far, so I will just create a completely new project. Because the extra assets, they are not needed until way later. So yeah, I think first step would just be to roll a ball. It should be 2D, of course. It should be 3D. I mean, you could also make a 2D game, but yeah, that's not part of the lecture, I guess. And we just create that. It looks a little bit different than in the slides because, well, Unity got updated. So Hidayama Sensei in the slides, as I said, the slides of last year, goes a little bit into the detail on how the interface looks like. I mean, you kind of know it earlier from the tutorials before. Maybe, yeah, it's also almost looks the same. Like the thing is, you can change this. You can move the stuff around. You can really change how everything should look like. There's also a couple of like pre-installed layouts. So I think default would be, that's an old default. I'm not sure what default really means, but yeah. So I think this one would probably be the closest to the one they use in the tutorial. It's called 2x3. But yeah, I mean, the stuff can be changed as wanted. So I think we start with the default one. So the first step would be going to this hierarchy and creating a 3D object, which is a plane. So down here, a plane is created. So that would be like basically the the ground of our video game. By the way, please stop me if I'm too fast anywhere, or if you have any question, if something doesn't work. Sometimes I will look around. If you go here, layout for default, and then there's the create button, 3D, and then plane. So basically, could you? Yeah. So the plane object would be like the ground level, like the ground of the level, which we the game will take place in. So basically, now that we have that, we want we can rename it, and we want a certain scale. So the scale should be 414. So we can rename it. So if this is basically the hierarchy. So this shows all objects in the scene, and the one selected is the plane. So on the right here, we can do all the settings for this one element. So up here, it's not really important, but the plane is the ground level, so we call it ground. And we want to change the scale, so now it's way bigger. 4 and 4 basically makes it 4 times as big in both directions. We keep the 1 here because we don't want to make it thicker. We could also put like a 4 here, but then if we move out, well, it's not shown because it goes into the ground, but I think it's thicker into the ground, like it goes down. So we don't want that. So yeah, just having a bigger plane now, and basically down here. Could you follow? Oh, okay. Down here in the project, now we want an asset, because the idea is to, this is a very boring plane. It's white, it doesn't do anything. I mean, it still doesn't do anything, but it's white, it looks a little bit boring. So basically, by adding a material to it, we can change the color, we can change how it looks like. So adding a material would be down here in the project first. And there's a button here, material. By adding a new material, it's always displayed as this nice round sphere. So that would be a ground material maybe as a name. And yeah. Basically, for every material, you can have all kinds of different settings. So, for example, here you can just give it a color, and I don't know what did he do in the tutorial. Here it's like a bluish color, but basically you can give it whatever you want. So feel free to make your scene pink or red or yeah. Other stuff can be added, so it could be made like metallic, it could be basically this material. The idea of material is that the material changes how stuff renders. So you can make things metallic looking, you can make things looking like wood, you can make things looking like plastic, something like that. In this case, the material is really just a color, but you can add extra stuff to make it look like certain materials. I mean, that's why it's called material, to make it look like a material, like to make it look like metal, to make it look like plastic, wood, glass, something like that. So yes. Up here, I think this is albedo. We want to attach. We click this small, whatever it is, like this small button here, and give it this this checkerboard layout. and then we set a color, and then we are basically done with this material. So now that it's set, basically you can just add it to elements. So you could add it to this ground. Now it's checkerboard and this color, maybe, and now it changes depending on that. So basically, when we change the color of this object. So having done that, we want to create walls for our level. So again, we go up here, create a new object. Now we want a cube. A cube, of course, how would a cube help us to make a wall for our level? The idea is basically this. I mean, a cube is three-dimensional, but it's just a cube. But by changing only one size of the scale, you can make it this long thingy. And of course, if you have your ground level and you want to make a wall could be a cube like this here, a cube like this here, a cube like this here, and a cube like this here, and you have your ground level directly above your ground level, and then you have your walls, which kind of makes it a room. So we proceed by doing this. So creating a cube, we can call it wall, selecting it on the left side and putting wall here. And to do exactly as this one tells us, basically we want to change the position. So quickly copy that, 1.5 and 19.5. So this one moves it on one corner. And now we just change the scale. So making it very long. And the other one can almost keep that way. So by that, it's already kind of one side of the room. And we are almost done by that. I mean, the tutorial proceeds now to add a second material for that. Basically, the idea would be to, can we duplicate that one? I mean, the idea would be if you want a different color for the wall than for the ground, you can just do so. Basically the same settings as before, just with a different color. So the wall should be blue. And I know my game would be super colorful now, but just as an example. So adding this to the wall, and maybe changing this back to something less annoying, something like that. So having two different colors, you can add, each element can have a different color. So yes. So the idea now would be to add 4 walls for the 4 sides to complete this level. So first we can duplicate this wall. And basically we want 4 different sides. And now we need to move them there, which is a little bit annoying, but I mean, does it have the numbers here? Yes. I mean, the idea would be to rotate 1, and now 19.5, 5.5. That would be the second one. And the third one would also be rotated, and then it's 19.5, no, minus 19.5. And here. And this one would be not rotated and would be 0.5. Ah, no. Minus 19.5. So just by duplicating this one wall and rotating 2 of them, so basically all of these are basically almost the same parameters. 2 of them are rotated and then moved around in with the location. Might be a little bit hard to follow. Yeah, it's okay. So first create a wall. So this one would be a cube.
Yes, I have already.
Ah, okay, you have one.
Yes.
Where is it?
This
Ah, yeah, yeah. So first one should be, if you copy these transform options, it should look like, so here in this box, position 0.5, 0.5, and then
0.5.
yes,
And
19.5. So I think I can bring it to a level that we can move the ball, which is always the next step. So the next step would be to create an extra sphere for the player. The one who are done can already do that maybe. So let's create a sphere, which would be this one, which is our player. So basically we want to create this ball, which we then control using the arrow keys. So we go ahead, create 3D again and sphere. And yeah, I name it player just for the experience. And then we want the position again predefined like by our, so we put 0, 1.5, 0, which puts it in the middle here. Well, so that will be our player object, kind of. So basically, do you all have your sphere? Oh, sorry. Should look kind of like this, or depending on how you look at the scene, but some object. I think as long as you put the position more or less like this, then it will be white, I think. So next, we want a sphere collider object detect component attached to this. So this basically adds physics again. I think in the last tutorial it was this widget body thing. Yeah, it will be mostly the same. So yeah, here actually we do exactly that. So basically, as in the tutorial in the beginning of this lecture, we add a widget body to this sphere, and the settings should be like this. One, yeah, looks about right. So basically, if we play the game now, it falls. And it does nothing else. But that's the idea. So by adding this widget body component here, now this ball falls. Now it has physics. So we have that. And lastly, I think in 10 minutes, we can add a player to actually, like, the idea to add a player would be to have something to be able to control this ball. So we go ahead, we select this one again, we have our sphere, and we add a component, and this time the component should be a script. So in the last couple of minutes we actually even can quickly look at the scripting part of the Unity. So script, a new script, and the name of the script would be player controller. Here it's currently only C# available. I think depending on what you have installed, other languages might also be available, but C# is usually the standard. So we have player component, language C#, create and add. So now there's a script attached to this element. So basically that means there's this element in the scene, there's this element inside our game, and we have this C# script here. I think we can double click on it and open a wheel editor. And basically this script is attached to this element. So basically we can kind of script now this this object to do something using programming language. So luckily, Hirayama Sensei already gave us like an example script. So the idea would be to have it like that. Unfortunately, this time I don't really have like a like a Dropbox link like in the Python lecture yesterday. If you don't want to, you don't need to copy the full script now. I quickly do it here just to show you how it would look like. So you want fixed update, and that one is float x, input get axis, horizontal, and this one is vertical, widget body, get component, widget body, speed 0 wax. So what this script would do is basically it gets input. So the get axis, I think the input basically translates to your arrow keys. It would also translate if you use a controller and some button on the controllers or something like that. And it gets the widget body, which is basically we have this player object it has a widget body. So it gets this widget body, this physics object, and based on the inputs of the controller, it adds force in one direction. So that would move this physics engine based on input. So based on you do input on your controller or on your keys, add force to this physics object to move it. Yeah. And quickly to try this out, it's already connected. So hopefully it works. Compiler server have to fix it to this one. This here. Expected. Oh yeah. Okay. Of course. Okay, this one works. And now, with the arrow keys, I went out of the scene. We can restart it. Just a little bit slower. I can use my arrow keys to move this object. Basically, based on the script, my arrow keys are attached to these x and y float values. So basically, force is added to the physics of this ball every time I push a button. So that's that. The tutorial would proceed now with adding a camera to this. I don't know if we have 5 minutes. I can quickly try it. So I think assign main camera. Where do we have that? Main camera. we need to assign that, put main camera back into its position. The position of main camera would be something like that, 1, minus 10, 1, 1, 1. Add component, follow player. And if I can probably finish it. So I'll remove this. Start. So public transform target, public, no, private vector 3, offset. So in the start, get component, transform position minus target position, and then get component transform position is target position plus offset. Okay. Target position. Okay. So now player transform. Let's assign player as a target in offset. This one. Asset. Main camera. The target would be the player, and the position offset would be this, minus 5, 30, 111. So just to quickly finish this, actually Unity already shows you we have this main camera, which would be this. That would be the main camera of the player. We attached it to this player object with this code. I'm sorry it was too fast to copy now during the lecture, but just as an example how to connect something like that. And we just connected it to this player object. So now, if everything worked right, we can actually have our main camera view while play. Whoa. Okay, that didn't work right. Yeah, but just as an example, it should work right, so I don't know what went wrong. Target plus offset. Maybe just a tiny copy-paste mistake somewhere. But yeah, anyhow, so the that's basically how this Unity engine can connect together with scripts and objects in the scene. So yeah. This tutorial basically, I think, on the website, as I said, there's a full tutorial. We kind of did until here, moving the camera. The full tutorial would go a little bit further ahead. It would add collectible objects, some scoring, so you can have a full video game to play afterwards, just as a start. So yeah, that's basically Unity. That's how Unity works. Hopefully the tutorial made you a little bit interested in this engine to maybe play around with. As I said, lots of video games are based on it. So you can make virtual reality stuff with it. You can make demos maybe for your research stuff with that. So it's maybe a nice way to have people look at your work. So now with that, it's exactly 4:30. I guess I'm done. So thank you for the attention.